What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the week. It's a brand new week at Unity Gym. It's probably a brand new week everywhere else in the world as well. But today we're going to be talking about step 2, building an exercise habit. Step 2 of what? Step 2 of the health hierarchy of needs. Critical step for your success.
What's up, everybody? It's Monday morning here in beautiful Sydney, Australia. It's pouring with rain outside and we are in the middle of a huge storm, but we're nice and cozy in the podcast studio. I got Rad with me across the table and Richie, the voice of God behind the mic. We are Unity Gym and the Unified Movement System, where we teach driven people how to become strong, flexible athletes. What's up, everyone?
Just, looking forward to the week, looking forward to this show. I like this one. We're starting to get into some good topics that I really enjoy talking about. So.
Yeah, we've got a great series lined up for you guys this week. We are doing the second step to the health hierarchy. Last week we framed the health hierarchy and that the first step is motivation. Motivation comes from engineering goals that are associated or aligned or attached to a burning desire. If you missed that series, I would strongly advise that you go back and take a look at the podcast. Big shout out to everyone who's listening on the podcast. Huge shout out to everyone who is tuning into the replays on YouTube. If you guys haven't yet, we do urge you to jump over to the UMS Movement Mastermind Facebook group, join up, and you can interact with us live. Which brings me to the question of the day. For everyone joining the live stream, how many times are you currently exercising or training, and for how long in each session? We'd like to know.
In a week. How many times?
Every week, yeah, that's right. We want to know what the training frequency is like, what the commitment is like for the average viewer. And we're going to talk about this today. We're going to go deep into it. This is something that's very passionate to Rad and myself and Richard. And we kicked off our 28-day intensive on the weekend with our fast growth workshop, which was epic. And this is one of the topics that we dive deep into. So it's going to be a good discussion.
Hey, Lee. And hi, everybody else that is watching live. Yeah, this is, so the idea of the health hierarchy of needs is that we've got, in order, it's based off Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've got motivation at the bottom, and the idea of turning your goals into a burning desire so that you stay passionate about what you're doing. It's not just something that comes and goes with the seasons. Step 2 is to build a daily habit of exercise. Step 3 is to get your nutrition right. And you've got to get all those 3 things right before you want to move on to step 4, which is the physique, getting an impressive physique. And then step 5 at the top, the pinnacle of the health hierarchy, is movement mastery. Now, we're going to be going through today why the health hierarchy focuses on building an exercise habit as the second step. And it's pretty simple. We spoke about this on the weekend on our 28-day intensive. People asked us, why does this come before nutrition? And it's much simpler than you think. It's basically because it's easier. It's so much easier to do, to dial in your nutrition. You should see the amount of questions that we have about nutrition, and people get so confused with it. It's just so simple to say, okay, I should exercise daily. Like there's nothing more to it than that. Just start exercising daily and build the habit of exercise.
And then on top of that, it's certainly the lowest hanging fruit once you've got your motivation ignited. But success is not one step. We always teach people that success is not one thing. You're not going to achieve your goal by doing one thing. Success comes from a culmination of small wins that accumulate and create momentum in the right direction. And that is definitely why exercise comes before nutrition. It is the next thing that's going to give you that small win. You can build a habit of going to the gym. It makes you feel great. And then you sort of tick that box, and that provides the next level of momentum. And then from there are a number of boxes you tick really quickly based on the type of exercise, the exercise program you're following. So, if you're following the UMS, which we do have a few people on the stream doing so, Lee's commented already to answer the question of the day. You're going to be training in balance between strength, flexibility, and fitness, and that's a big box to tick. 9 times out of 10, when we speak to elite level calisthenics people, when I say what's one regret that you have, they say, I wish I had trained for flexibility much earlier in my journey. You know, you get really, really caught up on the shiny object syndrome of unlocking a big movement, but you don't realize how much of that movement is going to require really good mobility and really good flexibility. And so, yeah, you can tick off a number of really quick wins by training properly, training in balance, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And then also, the exercise tends to have a flow-on effect into other areas of your life. When you start to really take your exercise seriously and your concern is consistency and how you show up to the gym, how energetic you are, then you tend to sleep earlier. You go to bed earlier because you prepare for that workout. You tend to eat better. It flows on to nutrition, irrespective of whether that was your intention. You know.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. It is definitely the lowest hanging fruit, and just a critical step. You know, if you want to, like, if you're looking at anyone on Instagram, anyone for inspiration, or maybe it's not Instagram, but I think that's where a lot of people that use social media would see the results, just the nature of the way that the platform works. Maybe it's YouTube, whatever it is. If you're looking at somebody for fitness inspiration, I guarantee you that person is training consistently and regularly. No one would, and if they're not, I doubt that you're looking at them for inspiration, you know. And what I mean by that is anybody that's got an impressive physique or that's doing impressive skills. And those are usually the two reasons why you'd look at somebody for fitness inspiration. You see somebody's picture and they look amazing and you think, wow, I wish I could have a physique like that. Or you see somebody doing a press to handstand or an impressive yoga sequence or yoga flow or whatever it is, you know, some weightlifting. You don't get to that level without being consistent with your training. Yep. So it is something that you really need to dial in and need to understand the importance of. And it's something that the person that has got it the most right out of all three of us for sure is Richard. Richard definitely, I probably beat you at times with my consistency and frequency. And that's, in all honesty, only really because Yanni and I have different levels of motivation. Yanni's measurement for success comes more around business, whereas my measurement for success...
It's not different level. You used the wrong words. Okay. It's not different levels of motivation. It's different motivators.
Different motivators, yeah.
We've got different whys.
Yeah,
We've got different burning desires.
Yeah. Yanni's measurement for success is more around business success. My measurement for success is more around physical success, and those two things come together to align to create Unity Gym. Whereas Richard... he also has a measurement for success around his training and around his physique and around his body, and so he's very, very consistent with his training. So yeah, guys, if you want to, and one of the things, it keeps coming up, it doesn't matter who you train with, like it's like people saying, oh, should I have this and this supplement? And the first thing you say as a good coach is, well, what's your diet like? Because if your diet's not good, then the supplements are going to do 2/5 of bugger all. Yeah. Like, that's the icing on the cake. So people come in and they have these questions of, should I do this, and this with my training? Should I focus on this progression? Should I do that program? Should I do that? And really, the first thing to say is, well, how consistent are you? Because if you're not consistent, the programming you're asking about means nothing. Yeah. You're talking about trying to dial in the last 10% when you haven't even got the first 90% right.
There's a really good There's a really good post that I want to highlight, and I thank Mikhail. He said, hello from Poland. He posted over the weekend. I don't know if you can bring this up, Richie.
I'll tag Richard in it so that he can see it.
Mikhail's trying to unlock his L-sit to handstand press, and he's asking for some feedback on how to do it. And I gave him a fairly lengthy answer that I'll read here. He says, hi everyone, I have a problem with transition from L-sit to handstand. Can't raise my hips any higher. I'm working on compression strength, and also I'm doing explosive transition, but it's not much higher than that. Do you have any tips? First of all, he's doing he's demonstrating a great level of strength here and great level of balance. And I've said, and this is, my answer stands. I've asked him first, how is his press to handstand? So standing press to handstand and V-sit. because those are two progressions along the way that have to be achieved before you can ever even can comprehend doing an L-sit press to handstand or a V-sit press to handstand. In this example, he's not demonstrating the required compression and flexibility to be able to get there, and I've sort of explained why. Essentially, if he can't compress the legs to the chest, then it's lengthening the leverage considerably and increasing the mass that his body has to transition and lift. By shortening the leverage, which would mean compressing more, the mass will be much closer to what's referred to as the fulcrum point, which is the pivot point in his shoulders, and the weight will literally be 10 times less. And I can dissect that because I used to be a mechanical engineer, and I'm very, very aware of leverage and physics to a much higher level than even a regular strength coach would be. But, you know, the simple answer is he needs to get more flexible and increase his compression strength. And, you know, I would suggest not worrying about the L-sit. At the moment for Mikhail, the L-sit press is a shiny object. It's something that is so far beyond what he's capable of doing right now that he will, you know, remember, training is not competition. We say this all the time. An L-sit press is competition. That's something that you would do to demonstrate your strength. But to train to get there will look very different than that 1 or 2 reps that you can do. And, you know, I've seen even the most experienced people, they'll only ever be able to do 1 or 2, maybe 3 reps from a stall to press to handstand or an L-sit press to V-sit press to handstand, you know, before they're completely fatigued, which doesn't deliver enough volume to actually use it in your training program. You know, what Mikhail needs to do is ignore the shiny object for the moment and just work on the basics, which are, you know, maybe depending. I haven't seen his handstand. I haven't seen his V-sit. I haven't seen his.
Man, in all honesty, to look at it, raw strength and compression strength is what's going to get you there more than anything else. Raw strength, and I speak from so much experience, man. Just practicing that skill over and over again will only get you so far. The raw strength that you would get just from doing, you know, things like bench press and, you know, deadlifts and pull-ups and things like that.
This is exactly the conversation that we had on the weekend with the guys that were here for our fast growth workshop. One of the stories that Rad shares is how heavily he went at calisthenics for a couple of years that delivered mediocre results at best. And he was following some of the best and most popular online programs. And what he identified very quickly, because as we introduced the movements that he was striving for to Richard and I, we outperformed him. And Richard and my training was very different for those 2 years. We just focused on strength. You know, and this is why the UMS program at the foundation level focuses on getting you strong and flexible, flexible and athletic, and improving body composition, so that these things, you know, you're setting a foundation that you can then deploy at whatever sort of competition, sport or hobby that you're passionate about, which could be calisthenics, it could be gymnastics, it could be yoga, it could be CrossFit, it could be powerlifting, it could be soccer, football, you know, whatever it is. You've just got to focus on building strength and flexibility first, you know.
And a big part of the UMS and what we do is creating a consistent routine by having a program that is lined out for you where do this, this, this and this. And you'll get that, and you just turn up and do the work and do it weekly. Like if you could see, it's funny with our online members versus our gym members, because with our online members, you guys have access to things. Well, it depends on how many programs of ours you have, but you have access to more information and more things to look at than our gym members here do. But our gym members get such good results because the number one thing that they get reinforced is just turn up and do what I tell you to do.
Laser focus.
Stay laser focused. And so people put their faith in us, they turn up. And if you doubt what we're saying here, go and look at our Instagram feed for 10 minutes. Just scroll through, and I don't post much of, I manage the Instagram feed, I don't post much of what Yanni, Richard and me are doing. It's mostly our members. And these people, they didn't come here being able to do the things that they're doing in those feeds. I always post the stuff that I see that is a feat of an achievement that somebody couldn't do before they started here. And then all of a sudden people start going, oh, so how do I do the muscle up, or how do I do a press to handstand or something? And I go, oh, you should just try this. And they get it so easily. Straight away. Because, you know, like we've got within the last 6 posts, there's a video of one of our members, MJ, doing his first muscle up. He'd never been able to do one before, and I showed him how to do it. I said, try this, and he just went and did a muscle up. Because
I really want to press this point. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is really important, because Jesus has made the point here. He says one of the biggest aha moments he's had from us was the difference between training and competition. And this is how it plays out at Unity Gym. We build a foundation of strength, flexibility and fitness. Depending on the individual, how athletic they are already when they start with us, it takes 6 to 12 months, okay? Some people, if they're really beat up, but they're athletes, they get the strength quickly, but the flexibility takes a little bit more, so it might take a few months, three months. But they build that foundation of strength, flexibility, and athleticism and fitness. And then Rad and I will walk up, tap them on the shoulder and say, today I want you to try this technique. And they do a skill that has eluded people for years in one go. One go once we unpack the actual technique cues that they need to focus on, you know. And it's because they've built that strength and flexibility. And this is what is really important. This is the insight. This is the aha moment. Those skills, what Mikhail is trying to do here is a demonstration of a combination of strength and flexibility. It is the way you would demonstrate what you can do. You don't sit there practicing that every day to get it. That's not how these skills unfold. You know, once you have the strength and flexibility, it's very quick to lay the neural pathway down to unravel that skill, to unlock that skill. You know, and we really believe that is the better way to train for these skills. So. I love that Jesus has mentioned that there. You know, I'll repeat that. One of the biggest aha moments from you guys since he's been following us is the difference between training and competition. And by competition, I mean a means to demonstrate one's strength. There is a great competition taking place right now today in America, the CrossFit Games. That is an incredible means of demonstrating physical fitness, cardio fitness, and strength. Not so much flexibility, but it's a great combination of fitness and strength, you know, and those athletes are demonstrating that right now. But the way that they're demonstrating that at the games is not necessarily the way they train to prepare for demonstrating, you know, for competition.
Yeah. So have a look at this. Let's have a look at, there's a really good comment here that Cassandra Numa Mikkel, I hope I've said that right, has said, which really aligns with this, and I'm pretty sure it's after what we spoke about last week. She said, I watched the Motivation podcast last night, and I honestly feel that I need to reevaluate my objectives and hierarchy of fitness needs. It was a very informative segment. I was especially shocked at how the fitness industry warps the fundamental goals and basically selling false truths. Thanks, UMS. And what Cassandra's talking about there is the first step of the health hierarchy of needs, which is motivation. But this is this idea that we're talking about. If you guys haven't really thought about this and analyzed what's going on for you, then if you spend a little bit of time, you will probably realize that you have been programmed by the fitness industry to focus on either your physique or movement mastery. Those are the things that right now you are probably focusing on. The whole purpose of this show is to try to tell you the idea. We've already spoken about motivation. If you didn't catch those podcasts, then go back and have a look last week at the podcast on motivation. It'll be in the 180s or 190s if you're listening to this in the years from here. Episode, I think we're up to about 180, 190, something like that. But it's this idea that you must dial these steps in. And if you don't get this critical step of daily habit of movement, it just becomes a habit. It's this idea that what we were speaking about on the weekend at our 28-day intensive is that people like Yanni, Richard and me, we have dialed this in so much that we actually get stressed if we don't train in a day.
Yep.
Like, I know for Richard that one of the worst things that you can do if you want to piss that guy off is get in the way of his training for the day. Fuck, he gets pissed off, man. You can see him. He starts steaming if he doesn't get it. And you can see him looking at the clock if you're starting to say, right, we need to do this. And you can see his eyes and his brain's starting to go, well, training's meant to start in half an hour. You better fucking finish this shit before my training starts.
You want to see a meltdown? Throw a last-minute change of schedule around when we're
train if you want to see Richard meltdown. But we've gone through some real ups and downs with our business, because we've gone through times where Yanni and me, Richard and me, have pushed back against Yanni and said, no, we're prioritizing training. And when I say times, I mean months and years where we put training at the earlier part of the day. But we've made the decision that for us to be able to move forward with our business, that we had to prioritize work in the morning and we'd put training in the afternoon. And we're doing really well with that now. But it's scheduled. It is a part of our day. It's in our diary. Nothing, very, very little ever gets in the way of training. It is that daily thing, and it never goes more than a day where something gets in the way, and then we're back on track and we do it. Even to the extent where Yanni was in, I saw you were in on Sunday.
I missed a couple of days last week because of work, and I came in on Saturday and Sunday and trained. I trained before the. Yesterday we talked about in the fast growth workshop, we talked about the concept of creating a minimum daily practice, a goal daily practice, and an ideal daily practice. And yesterday I got what you would call a minimum daily practice in. I practiced my handstands and I practiced my V-sit and compression strength and a little bit of flexibility. And that was it. That was all I had time for. It was half an hour. And then I had to prepare last minute changes for the slide presentation for our workshop, and get that done. But I felt good. I felt like I got something achieved, and there's really, really important things that you need to focus on here. And I think Ido Portal said it best in one of his early pieces of content where he is interviewed, and he talks about the notion that the fitness industry is basically trying to reverse engineer the body. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was along the lines of, most people train for exactly what we talk about here, physique or movement mastery. They're trying to get really good at calisthenics before they've built the strength, the flexibility, and even the habits, the lifestyle behaviors, the nutrition that's going to nourish their body and complement their training, not hinder their training by creating systemic inflammation and really unhealthy environments in the body. And it's so true. It's so true. You cannot reverse engineer the body. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. So what do you do from here? We've told all this. We've said all this stuff about the reason, why it's so important to get this habit right. I'm going to tell you, the first step you have to do is you've got to go back even one step and go to motivation. You've got to make sure you're clear on your motivation, because you have to have that dialed in. You've got to.
And can I just say here, we've got a couple of people who are doing our UMS program and who have commented here, and both of them have said. Lee Clements has said 5 out of 7 days to answer the question of the day. Yeah. She does the Foundations program 4 days a week, and then cardio mobility on Saturday mornings. Now, perfect. Lee Clements, if I'm correct, Lee is 50 or 60 years old.
I think Lee's in her 60s.
In her 60s. She's a 61, I think. I think, Lee, can you correct me if I'm wrong? I'll kill myself if I get that wrong. But I believe she's a 61-year-old woman. And she's training 5 out of 7 days, strength 4 days a week, and that is a combination of strength and flexibility, and then an additional cardio and flexibility day. And then you've got Jesus also saying 6 out of 7 days, Sundays for break, which is what we encourage here at Unity Gym. And that's a really important point to make, because no impressive physique and no movement master ever achieves their feats that you guys aspire to without training about 5-6 days a week.
68 Lee is.
68. There you go.
Yep.
Okay, so you need to understand that this is so much more important than people give credit to. Yep. And so you need to be training in a program and in a group, in a culture, whether it's an online tribe like our UMS online coaching tribe, or whether it's the Unity Gym tribe. This is what we talked about yesterday, where it is the norm to do that. Otherwise, it won't happen for you. You know,
Yeah.
people come and they go, "What? You guys train 6 days a week at Unity Gym? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Who has time for that?" But very quickly, and we just say, "Look, just start with whatever you
Man,
can."
I love this. I love this post that I shared of Arnold Schwarzenegger, talking about being a girly man that I shared in our Unity Gym tribe. No, but the part of it that I loved about it is that the way that he looks at the camera, and of course, if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see what I'm doing here, but he goes, "You don't have time to train every day. You don't have time to take care of your body. Are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? You don't have time to take care of your body?"
Yeah.
Because you know what? That's it. That's what you've got, your body. And, you know, it relates to something that the Dalai Lama said, which is not about fitness and the body, but about spiritual health.
Yeah.
And he says, the insanity of man is that they spend the majority of their time building wealth until they get to a point where they spend all their and sacrificing health, where they get to a point where they want to spend all their wealth to regain some of their health.
Yeah.
Like, it's insanity, man. It
100%.
really is. And
what I used to really struggle with when I was a mechanical engineer was that I saw firsthand. I used to have the privilege of working on sports cars, you know, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, BMWs, Mercedes, and I saw firsthand how much money and how much effort people put in affluent areas into their freaking cars, and they were all the most unhealthy pricks I've ever seen.
We've had members,
you know, your body is the only vehicle that you're stuck with for life.
Yeah, we've had members at Unity Gym balk at spending $100 a week on our gym membership. They go, whoa. And this is back when we used to charge it. We charge less now. And then when we dug a little bit deeper, the same person owned an Aston Martin and a Mercedes AMG S, both $500,000 cars. Yeah. Two of them.
Yeah.
And 2 houses here and there, and you're like, but you won't spend $100 a week on your health?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
But
it's
you know,
honestly bizarre.
But talking about what we're talking about here, like, so what do? The first step you've got to do is you've got to do a program, something that you look at that says, this is what I'm doing today, because you have to remove the block of, what am I going to do today? That has to be gone. Yeah. You cannot because that is a barrier to getting a daily habit. That's a massive barrier, is if you have to get up and think, what am I going to do today? That's going to stop you on some days. Yeah. It has to be, it's like Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs and all these people that wear the same clothes every day. They don't wear different clothes because they don't want to waste energy on trying to decide what they're going to wear. Yeah. So it's the same thing for you. You don't waste energy trying to decide what you're going to do for a day. It should be planned for you. Yep. You should have a program that is planned, that I'm going to do this from Monday to Friday, or whatever it is. Monday I'll do this, Tuesday I'll do this, Wednesday I'll do this, and then I'm going to do that for 6 weeks, and then I've got my next program that I'm going to do, and I'll, and that's how good programming works. And if you're not getting that part right, if you haven't dialed something in like what we do in the UMS, then this is going to be hard for you. Yeah. This is going to be hard because you're going to be 100%. Always trying to think about what you're going to do. And if you have to think about what you're going to do, there's going to be days and times in your life. It is not a probability. It is a certainty that you are going to go through slumps and highs in your life.
I call it the natural vicissitudes of life.
Yep. And when you go through those slumps, it is your duty to yourself that you continue exercising, because it is the one thing that's going to pick you out of that slump more than anything else.
100%.
It's a meditation. It's a form of meditation, and it stimulates endorphins, and it stimulates things that make you feel good. And if at that moment, when you're having that slump, if you don't have a plan and you haven't already created this daily habit, that's the time where you're going to stop training. Yeah. And that's the time when 3 months goes by, and then you go through this cycle where the only time you train is when you feel good, and the only time when you don't feel good, you don't train. There's so many motivational videos you can listen to where the professional athletes of the world will talk about if they only trained when they felt good, they never would have got anywhere. Yeah. So, you've got to get this right, guys.
The first step is to build a habit, and you cannot build a habit in only a few weeks. It takes months and months and months to build a habit. So you have to find something that's going to keep you consistent. And you have to be surrounded by like-minded people who are on the same journey, because otherwise it will be very, very difficult. And we believe that to build a habit, you have to be doing it daily. So if you're doing a program or working with a coach who's telling you that you can do this in 2 or 3 days a week, they're telling you bullshit. Yeah. And I would argue I'd like to see some of the results that they have produced. Now, we have a group group of girls in the morning class when I get to the gym. They must be in their 60s. Margaret and her little tribe.
No, Margaret's in her 50s.
50s, yeah, really.
56 or something. But Margaret, yeah, no, she'd be in her 60s or 70s, I'd say. I'd say they're in their 60s or 70s, yeah.
Yeah, and they're in here every day crushing it, you know. And we've got...
and they've never exercised before. They had no idea what they were doing when they came in here.
That's exactly
you couldn't have
right.
gotten more fresh off the boat beginners.
Yeah, and, you know, so... It's not about turning up and just smashing yourself. It's about building a habit, because if you want to achieve a great physique or you want to achieve movement mastery, it has to become autonomous. It has to become unnatural. It has to feel uncomfortable for you to not exercise in a day, and that requires a bit of time, and it requires just focusing on the absolute basic. Just turn up and become process focused and do the work. You know.
Now, we're out of time now, guys. If you've made it this far and you're confused by all this and you don't know where to get started, the easy answer is join the UMS online coaching program, where you can work much closer with Yanni and me and our inner circle, and you'll have it all laid out for you. All you have to do is turn up and do the work. We've got a fantastic program that balances strength and flexibility and fitness, so check it out.
Yeah, we'll make sure that there's a link in the description on the podcast and on YouTube. Now, tomorrow and for the rest of the week, we're going to go deeper onto the concept of building an exercise habit, and we're going to talk about the process. We're going to talk about what the habit should look like for best results. We're going to talk about how to maximize performance, and then we'll finish the week off with exactly how we do it here at Unity Gym, what it looks like, what our exercise habit looks like for our tribe, so that you guys have a little bit of an idea and a blueprint so that you can deploy that in your own lives. Have a great week. Enjoy yourselves.
See you tomorrow, everyone.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, it's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that
It's
far.
the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.